So if my YouTube analytics are anything to go off of, at least a majority of my audience is older than me. You guys may have grown up in a world where the issue we're discussing in the modern sphere of gaming was not a problem. Because of this, you may remember a time where when you bought a game, you bought a game. DLC, microtransactions, rampant monetization, etc. are things that were introduced to you far later on in the timeline of gaming. However, we currently live in a capitalistic society where tech and gaming at large has become a multi-billion-dollar industry where any and everyone wants to get their chance at getting rich off of the leisure and enjoyment of gaming communities. Fighting games are no different. In fact, we were the community that was most easily prone to it looking back with just how expansive and choice-based these games are. Because of this, we're stuck in a place now where we're witnessing fighting games hit new peaks in players, budget, entertainment, etc. However, we're also witnessing the ugliest side of the AAA gaming industry rear its ugly head, being microtransactions. Oh joy. So today, I wanted to discuss how the FGC has become so monetized and what the big three have done to influence this. Before we start, hello there, I'm Zak Not Kyle, or Zak for short, and if you're new here, I'm a fighting game player and content creator who talks about video games, creative writing, popular culture, and how all of those things interact with one another. I also occasionally talk about the content creators of this community as well. If you like what I do, subscribe down below and stick around for my silly shenanigans. I stream a few times a week on my channel, post videos at least monthly, and run tournaments for different fighting games from time to time as well. With all of that info out of the way, let's get into this mess. And really quick before we start, myself and Church HB are going to be hosting a Street Fighter 6 Akuma theme tournament the day after this video goes live, being May 31st at 7 p.m. EST, 4 p.m. PST. It's not ranked or region locked, and there's a $100 prize pool attached, and all of it will be streamed on my channel. You're able to apply right up until the tournament starts, so go join now at the start.gg link in the description and the pinned comment. So now, let's go. So let's begin by defining what microtransactions are in the context of this video. According to Wikipedia, microtransactions are a business model where users can purchase in-game virtual goods with micropayments. Microtransactions are often used in free-to-play games to provide a revenue source for the developers, and I will be talking about microtransactions in the context of the fighting game sphere, nowhere else. We are not going Fortnite Battle Pass on this, bros. Specifically, we'll be looking at the microtransactions of Street Fighter 6, Tekken 8, and Mortal Kombat 1 specifically and see how they line up. With this in mind, what is the purpose of these microtransactions and what are their pros and cons? Well, first things first, this actually allows developers to continue adding new things to games that we play and sustain much longer development times than they used to. Also, this means that if a game you don't like doesn't have a character or feature you want, there's always the chance that because of funding from DLC, microtransactions, etc., that these things get added in time. On top of this, developers will get enough money to continuously support their teams and projects, giving us, the players, more content and features because of that feedback loop. At least normally, considering some microtransactions have absolutely just been ways for developers to get more money and nothing more. The verse is that a lot of the game is put behind a paywall. Please look at BB Tag, Street Fighter 5, and others and then tell me that fighting games don't gatekeep DLC like crazy. There's also the worry that the work on content for fighting games will hinder balancing in order to fuel the influx of money. It's also important to mention how these games frequently also have DLC that are crazy good at release and sometimes permanently, which gives a monetary advantage to these games that they affect. There's also how the system is seen as exploitative from game companies, not just in the fighting game sphere, but the AAA gaming industry at large. So how did we get here as a community? Let's go through each of the big three fighting games franchises, their implementations, their responses, community reception, and where we are now with them. For time's sake, I won't be going too far into the reception of games prior to 2023 and 2024 from installments of Street Fighter, Tekken, and Mortal Kombat, aside from where it is relevant because of the issues with those games being stomped or having been replaced with new issues now. So let's go. Street Fighter 6 dropped in June of 2023 and had a bountiful amount of content despite a smaller roster than the other games we'll discuss. The biggest issue with the monetization of this game though would start by manifesting in the World Tour mode, where you would get your own avatar. So why does this contribute to our issue though? If you have a customizable avatar, it sounds like progression through the game would get you through the customization barriers. No. The Battle Hub and World Tour would introduce heavily priced microtransactions for the outfits you could get for your avatar, which ultimately doesn't appear in the game for a long period of time at all, unless you're playing World Tour constantly, which usually isn't the case. This was the first issue, and the second would be when the third outfit drops were announced and showcased from Capcom for every character on the base roster of Street Fighter 6. Initially, many people thought that the outfits would be priced a little bit higher than the 50 coins needed for the skins prior. However, they weren't just priced higher, they were priced 5 times higher than their second outfit counterparts. This does sound worse than it is on paper. Ultimately, in the discussion of monetization, 10 colors of well thought out outfits costing you $5 is shockingly low when we discuss the other games later. So the third outfits are a smaller inconvenience compared to World Tour. The worst offense though, going back to the avatar customizations, would be the overpriced cosmetic collaborations with different franchises like TMNT and Spy X Family. The Spy X Family one was especially clowned on by the FGC at large for being complete garbage for how overpriced the cosmetics were, and deservedly so. This is so ass, it's insane. So how did Street Fighter respond to this? Well, not at all, really. They didn't make too many active changes to this, and they still have a battle pass system as well that ultimately doesn't do much in the way of making up for the content we discussed. In fact, it actually kind of makes the problem worse. So we're just stuck for the time being with a game that doesn't grasp its poor monetization issues as much as it should, and hopefully as time goes on, we'll see Street Fighter turn this around by including more content that is free for players, hopefully throughout the Season 2 DLC updates. So moving from one poor monetization attempt to another, we hit Mortal Kombat 1. If there were a specific fighting game that did its fans dirty with its monetization, Mortal Kombat 1 ate shit for the first few months. It was embarrassing. But why? So when Mortal Kombat 1 launched, unlike Street Fighter 6, which launched to extremely high praise from its audience, Mortal Kombat 1 was incredibly mixed out of the gate and only recently got its fans back and made better efforts. Mortal Kombat's currency system was nothing new. In fact, there were microtransactions for time crystals back in Mortal Kombat 11, so it was almost expected to see some form of microtransaction return in Mortal Kombat 1. However, while time crystals could reasonably be earned in the game and also were largely used on things you could earn through extremely hard work in Mortal Kombat 11, Mortal Kombat 1 was putting a good amount of skins for $10 behind a premium shop with dragon crystals, a currency notoriously difficult to grind. I'm not kidding when I say that I've played this game for 8 months and I would be surprised if I got more than 2,000 without my Ultimate Edition bonuses. Over time though, Mortal Kombat 1 would get praised more and more by the FGC, not just for implementing much of the necessary quality of life parts of the game, but also for lowering the prices of the microtransactions in the game. The skins dropped to an average of around 500 crystals instead of the typical 1,000. There are some that are still that high, but it's fewer than they were. The seasonal fatalities also dropped from 1,200 to 400 crystals. The rewards and invasions were better, and we have better cosmetics for characters overall. Aside from whatever the fuck Season 4 was, I have no idea what happened. However, the microtransactions got better, sure, but I more so attribute the positive reception to MK1 getting much needed quality of life changes and well-received DLC, not necessarily the events of the microtransactions themselves. So we can learn that MK1 wanted to actually improve itself using the feedback of its fans, even if it was a little delayed before everything was too little too late. But what happens when a game launches to positive acclaim and microtransactions turn that entire perception? Well, let's talk about Tekken 8. Tekken 8 released in January 2024 to massive critical and audience acclaim. Like, damn, this thing went crazy. It skyrocketed in players and had the attention of the entire FGC and gaming sphere at large. However, when Eddie Gordo, the first DLC character, dropped in April of 2024, we also got the Tekken shop, and everyone responded exactly how you think they did.
Hey guys, 2 quick questions. Number 1, what the fuck am I looking at? Number 2, can you stop? Can we not do this? For 5 seconds? For 5 seconds!
By the time Eddie dropped, the whole fan base was torn to shreds and crying that Tekken was corporate trash that was going to flop. These are Tekken's player numbers, by the way, just in case we forgot. And this is where I'm actually going to defend Bandai Namco a little bit because their microtransactions weirdly make the most sense. When all of this went down, I couldn't help but take a look at these microtransactions and how they worked in this game specifically. Here's the thing, I am most inclined to actually defend Tekken's microtransactions over all of the others. Now, you may ask, but Zach, why would you defend that if you've made a whole video shitting on these as a concept? Well, the answer is that you are getting far more out of these microtransactions than you are out of Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat both. Let's take the Cyber Halo packs for example. You get multiple skins for different characters along with universal customization options and hairstyles, although it definitely looks better on some characters more than others. But because of Tekken's really good foundation of a customization system, the microtransactions are made much more bearable because of the customization system itself already being good. And $4 for skins and customizations you can use on literally every character is a massive upgrade over $5 for a skin for one character in MK1 and SF6. Another thing to note is that paying for things in the customization system is nothing new for Tekken. Tekken 7 literally had that as a concept already. Tekken 7 was also making you pay for frame data, which was just completely out there. Also, the Battle Pass is noticeably better because unlike Street Fighter 6, your customization items actually do things for your characters, not your avatar you rarely fight with. Like straight up, it is a way better use of your money. Also, you can earn back all of your Tekken coins by the end of the pass, provided you put in the effort to play the game. Basically, you're set. Because of all these things, I can't say that Tekken's microtransactions ruined the game. Now, I can't defend Bandai for adding in the microtransactions later into the game's development, I just can't. However, their implementation definitely outdid their competitors by a solid margin, which I will give them credit for. And to everyone saying that Tekken is going to flop because of microtransactions, Street Fighter 6 and Mortal Kombat 1 definitely did not, even though there were points where it was getting kind of scary for them. Like, respectfully, no, that is not how that works. So we have one game that botched its microtransactions on multiple occasions, one that botched it ridiculously hard out of the gate and course corrected, and one game that didn't start with microtransactions but added them in a couple months later, much to everyone's dismay, but still did better than their competitors. So I would personally say that Tekken is more worth your investment in terms of what I would say is actually a good value, but that doesn't mean I support microtransactions as they currently exist universally. It's not a great place to be in. I guess the better question to ask is, how did we even get to the point where microtransactions are becoming so necessary in fighting games? Well, interestingly enough, a lot of people like to pretend that this is a new issue for this genre. We've been a monetized genre for years. It's only now getting so much worse. Think of the fact that DLC fighters have existed for Street Fighter since Street Fighter 4. Mortal Kombat has had them since MK9 in 2011. Tekken 7 had 4 entire seasons of DLC, and Street Fighter 5's roster was over half composed of DLC. The rosters of SF6, T8, and MK1 are set to be no different. I don't think DLC in and of itself is necessarily a problem in the modern age of fighting games where online takes a stronger hold, and having split versions of these games would be kind of stupid, especially when game stores make DLC an infinitely easier option. So from this, we understand that DLC being around wasn't the issue. It had been a staple for years. The issue became when it ramped up to include things seen in other AAA titles like battle passes and paid currencies. The easiest way to fix this in the future, if the devs want to make money but also want to not actively piss the fans off repeatedly, is to make your micros make sense. Battle passes in fighting games are ridiculously dumb, and whoever thought of them was so weird for that. The only one I kind of think is okay would be Tekken's, because of Tekken having a good foundational customization system that can be regularly updated with new content. If the skin prices are lowered, honestly, those are whatever for the most part, but charging for in-game mechanics like fatalities in Mortal Kombat is beyond stupid, and it was the same when Tekken did the same thing for frame data. Like, wow, that was shitty. Skins and cosmetics have been sold in standalone DLC packs before and did their job just fine, albeit not as frequently. The hope I have is that the content is worth the money being asked for, so that these games have a sense of longevity attached to them that makes the investments of the fans even worth it. Because right now, the rampant monetization of the FGC's biggest games is becoming its biggest mistake. But I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. What do you think of fighting game monetization? Does it bother you? Does it not bother you? Are you used to it? Are you not? Are there skins that you wish we got in games that you haven't seen yet? Are there skins that you wish you got for free in certain games? Let me know in the comments below. And with that, I think I'm just going to go play more Tekken 8 because genuinely I am so bad at that game. I seriously need to get better. Everybody is out of yellow ranks and it's honestly really sad because I am not. Bye, sis.